we'll be talking about how screens are changing the way children are thinking and behaving. It is not a very alien topic to anyone, especially now where there are a lot of children that we already call iPad children, children who always have their iPads on, teenagers who already have their cellular phones always with them, and even young adults being unable to sleep at night because they feel that through their busy days, they need that time, that screen time to get some alone time. When did screen time become the new alone time? This has happened for over a decade already, and there are many studies from 10 years ago actually that tells us that television is not good for children. There has been a lot of um, research how using cell phone has been limiting social interaction and making children a little less aware of how to behave um, in real life situations. And today we'll be looking more into this. What are the pros and the cons of um, screen time with children, and what are its long-term effects? And how do we curve it so that, we give chance to our children to have a more relaxed and more natural approach to their childhood? So let me begin. What we are going to talk about today is about the digital landscape. As I said, positive impacts. Of course, we start with the positive, but on a more serious note, we talk about how this affects their physical well-being, their emotional and cognitive health, their social well-being, and how we can help them as parents. And this will also set a guide for us educators, for um, parents who ask on the daily, what can I do aside from letting my children watch during lunchtime? Or what can I do to make them sleepy before bedtime? These are things that we should be able to confidently address as educators, and I will be giving you some resources as well too, so that you can um, look through it after. So I have some videos, I have a book for you, I have some research links. So it's going to be a really, really meaty conversation. So I hope you engage with me tonight. So the digital landscape for our current digital world. The new normal is that children today are digital natives. The older generation usually look for the younger ones to ask, how do we do this? How do I remember my password? Where do I find my email? How do I talk to our associates? We often find ourselves asking the younger generations how to do this and that, because they are more likely to understand how to navigate through this digital world. Why? Because they have been exposed to this world from a younger age. And while technology is a tool to empower children to have these sets of skills, this is also a source of physical and psychological strain. So, there are a lot of things going on. These are very, very recent news articles, how children are being discouraged to use phones. Even Australia has this new law of uh, banning social media for children 16 years of age and below. They just recently had this law, and I think everyone should have that, because there are a lot of negative impacts and a lot of research that says we shouldn't be giving our children smartphones, because screen time is something that parents are also unable to manage, because sometimes there are healthy screen times whereby children are learning, like Bluey, things like these. But when we don't manage it correctly, of course, it becomes unhealthy. And we can see from this very graph here that screen time is not limited to just using the phone. It's also watching TV or using the iPad, playing games with it, watching something on the desktop, searching something, um, even talking to devices such as Siri or Alexa, smartwatches. Children have a lot of smartwatches now, especially as we encourage them to be independent. I believe a lot of parents have equipped their children with the smartwatches so that they can track their locations, especially now in this kind of world where it is very dangerous for children to be walking alone, and but still we want to encourage that independence. They have smartwatches, so all these things actually count as screen time. So did you know that for children ages 5 and below, the total amount for all this should just be an hour and a half. An hour and a half for all of these gadgets. But can you imagine? I have spoken to a lot of parents who say, "Oh, teacher, he only has 30 minutes on the TV, and then after that, I give him an hour on the phone, and then after an hour on the phone, actually, he plays games on his Nintendo, and then before he falls asleep, actually, we play him music." Um, and he can ask Alexa whatever he wants to ask music for. All those gadgets actually contribute to their screen time. So a total of all those gadgets should only be an hour and a half for children 5 and below. And for children until 12, it should only be at least 2 hours and a half. So obviously our children are consuming way more than the recommended time, because we always think, oh, screen time is just the phone, or oh, screen time on the phone is different on the TV, but it's not, because all of these have digital screens, and all of these have digital platforms where there's no human interaction. While there may be another human present on the other screen, there are other things that children cannot see, such as facial expressions, context, being sensitive about the volume of their voice. Did you know that children now have been found to be talking louder than they usually were? Because they are unaware of how their voices are sounding in a group, because they grew up in the pandemic where everyone is calling through the laptop, everyone is calling through our phones where we can adjust the volume, and these children haven't learned to adjust their volume accordingly to the space where they are talking. So you see, these are just some of the things um that show concrete examples of what the digital landscape is right right now. So let's talk about the positive impacts of screen time first. So let's talk about the bright side. Of course, when children have access to internet, they have a lot of global knowledge. They can search up anything that they want. Children who like to ask a lot of questions about certain topics can look it up themselves, and this makes them more independent. And they have this library within their own hands, inside the comforts of their own room. So they have a lot of exposure to diverse cultures, languages. There are a lot of language apps available, and they're very kid friendly too. And platforms like YouTube, or there are also paid apps that have a lot of educational content. Aside from that, children are able to maintain bonds with their relatives who don't live within the same area anymore. Right now, it's quite common for children to have cousins from the other side of the world, from another city inside the same country. And this um, connection helps us stay updated and helps them
Reminding you again,
Okay.
brothers and sisters. Okay, I had lost you for a minute
Okay.
instead. Okay,
Okay, I will repeat myself again.
all right.
So as I was saying, there might be some relatives that they might remember when they're exploring the country. They will be, oh, I actually have a cousin twice removed over here that I can ask for help. You know, it keeps them very well connected. And these bonds can foster emotional security because they will always have a place to run to, you know, with people's digital presence. And um, this all in all gives children agency because technology is also a medium of self-expression, you know, for children to explore art, to make music, to do storytelling, you know, um, and to just basically explore the world. So these are just some of the benefits, but actually the cons outweigh the pros. And let us start with the first one. Having screen time makes children have a sedentary lifestyle, means they're less likely to want to go outside. That's the first thing. Because since they already have this very colorful world within the reach of their phone, they don't need to get dressed. They don't need to take a bath. You know, even sometimes taking a bath can be a struggle for some children because they would feel, you know, I'm already comfy inside my house. I'm just inside my house. I don't need to take a bath. I wasn't dirty at all. I already took a bath at night, mom. I don't need to take a bath again. You know, before they need to go outside, of course, they need to become presentable, and they don't need to go outside anymore to connect with their friends. They just can call them over the phone. They can have them on video call. One click of the phone, they can have their grandma already. They can see their cousins. So they don't need to do all these physical activity, getting dressed, um, brushing their teeth. You know, these routinely things that children used to struggle with. They would rather not face it because why would I need to go to grandma's house when we can call her right now? Why do we need to fly all over to the other side of the country when we can call them at New Year's Eve, you know? And sometimes parents also have this kind of mentality because they don't want to travel with their young ones. We all know how difficult it is to travel with a young one. I know your reactions if there is a toddler in the plane. You're like, oh, there's a toddler in the plane because you know the toddler is going to be whining, maybe crying, maybe even running around. You know how difficult it is for parents as well. And that's why they would often resort to giving children screens during the plane, or maybe not even have the trip at all, because they can all be in a video call. All of them, all their aunts, all their cousins can all be in one big video call. And since the teenagers right now are very experts on this digital space, they are able to actually create presentations already and games where families can, you know, connect. So this physical inactivity is dangerous for children because they once they don't go out, that's when weight concerns happen. That's when children don't get to practice their balance. Children don't get to practice their spatial skills. Like, how do I go from this point to that point? I know from experience that in my class, sometimes the child is here, the door is just on the other side. But since there's a table in the middle, the child goes all the way around. And that is a very simple execution of not being able to move around so much because they're unable to calculate the fastest way to go from this point to that point because they don't have that kind of experience every day. So that's the physical inactivity that negatively um, impacts a child's body. Aside from that, what contributes to uh, their physical health is also sleep disruption, because these devices have blue light, and exposure to this and late night scrolling actually delay melatonin production, and this will make children um, less well rested. They might not want to sleep. They might feel like they don't need to sleep yet, and this will lead to poor school performance or waking up late in the morning, you know. And right now, I also noticed that there are lesser and lesser children taking naps. They would rather watch TV, use their phones. They would do all these things, play games through the afternoon until night. And naps are actually very essential in children ages 12 and below. Did you know that? Have you ever had a niece and nephew, when they visit you, do they nap in the afternoon? Because I have asked the rest of my children, do you nap at my students? I've asked them, do you nap at home? And then they would tell me they don't nap at home. And then I ask them, what do you do? Well, they watch TV, or they, because my mom lets me use phone in the weekends, so I use the phone in the afternoon. But nap time is something that children need, because they're still growing humans need a lot of sleep so that their nutrients can penetrate their body through frequent napping. And with these gadgets, this is disrupted. Aside from that, posture and vision. I've often seen children who like to game a lot have curved postures, because they don't have they always like tend to lean forward because the table is too big, and their chair is too big for them, and they're still quite small. Or there are a lot of children now who I see would be, some people tell me they're just comfortable to eat because they're putting their leg up. Actually, when children put their leg up while eating, it's a sign of instability with the spine. Because if their spine can't hold their weight while they're sitting up, something else needs to reinforce that. So children would tend to put one leg up while eating. Have you ever seen a child put one leg up while eating? Some people would say, "Oh, it's because they saw it from here. They think it's quite cute. Oh, you such have a big head. You can't support yourself." But actually, it's not cute, because they can't support the weight of their body with just sitting up straight, and that is because they've been growing up lying down, using their phone to the side, using their tablet, or maybe in a big computer chair, all cushioned up, and they can't practice proper sitting. And aside from that, vision, there's digital eye strain amongst school age children, because while they already use computers at home, some schools also have digital classes at school. So, that also adds up to their screen time. And as I said just a while ago, social interactions um, make children quite lonely, because they don't know how to act in public situations. They become more isolated, and maybe they will tend to not engage in conversation at all. Let's move on to the next topic. Did you know that there is a link to the usage of a lot of screen time to the development of ADHD? There is actually a study in translational psychiatry that found that children um, ages 9 to 10 have had thinner development in brain regions responsible for attention and working memory, because of the ones that I told you just now, because they're just at home. They don't get a lot of stimuli from different things. So their brains don't work as much. They don't nap as much. So, their body doesn't grow the way that it usually grows as per research. Now it's growing in a different way. You know, children have um instant gratification from apps, and this makes them have a shorter attention span, and this will mimic ADHD symptoms. And even children who already have pre-existing ADHD are more susceptible to compulsive use because their brains are now wired to high frequency rewards. So now at school, stickers don't really mean anything to them because that one is a slower reward, or maybe charts don't really work as much, or they have low frustration tolerance because when they're using their phone, they immediately get a star when they're playing in their educational apps. Or maybe they get a lot of noises. Did you know Coco Melon is actually discouraged now because there's a lot of noises? I don't know if you noticed this, but Coco Melon, when they have the rhymes, uh just the simple rhymes like twinkle twinkle little star, maybe you can search it up later. Look how different Coco Melon's twinkle twinkle little star is to maybe Barney's twinkle twinkle little star. There are a lot of background noises in Coco Melon, such as babies laughing, or maybe a rattle at the side, or maybe zooming trains that make it more stimulating for the viewer. Whereby when you look at, let's say, what do you guys remember that show where there's a brown bear and then there's a moon? I forgot what it's called, but they also have a Twinkle Twinkle Little Star version. And when they do, it's just piano, maybe a music box playing, and the bear just singing, or maybe just Barney just singing. You know, it's a very simple and very stripped down version, which makes children more likely to listen to the words than being distracted with all of the sounds that's happening around the music. So, yeah, maybe later you can take a look yourself at YouTube or wherever you may. Coco Melon has a lot of these um, extra sounds at the background, and you will find that it is actually quite overstimulating. Um, okay, so aside from this link to ADHD, children are, you know, at risk of not knowing how to behave outside, and this might cause them to become bullies. And why is cyberbullying appear stronger to teens? It's because cyberbullying, it actually doesn't stop where it starts. Do you get it? Because the child has the phone with them all the time. Even if they delete their account, they will see it in a public platform if their friend is posting from a public account, or friends might send them screenshots. You know, cyberbullying follows victims everywhere. A single thread, it can go viral in seconds because now children have a lot of these, you know, slangs that they reach a large audience in a very short span of time. So cyberbullying is actually quite dangerous now because it affects roughly 1 out of 4 it seems. That's a quarter. That's a big amount. That's 25%. So maybe if you have 4 children, one of them might be being cyberbullied. So it's, this is persistent, anonymous bullying that is quite dangerous to the child's health, mental health. Aside from that, as I spoke a while ago, this is a research that I found of here, um, not here, in Malaysia. I mean that children who grew up using texting apps have a different, or have a more difficult time in face-to-face interactions. Mm. So, there's a lot of things. Also, this children are picking up new things, but we are, as I told you, childhood development doesn't stop at 12. It's even after that until they push through with their young adult life, because social media, text messages, it's causing anxiety, and lowering self-esteem, because children are now reliant on text-based communication, and they lack social cues. They have no uh, experience of having eye contact, tone of voice, having empathy with the person talking. And this is making all of these is making in-person conflict resolution harder, because they don't have day-to-day experiences with that. And aside from this, another thing that is genuinely affecting children's safety is um, social media. A lot of children now have baby accounts, exposing their face, and AI is using all of these photos to create deep fake videos of children. And while some people find it really cute, it's actually quite dangerous. I mean, imagine if you find your child's face on something that you don't agree with. Maybe it contradicts what you believe in life, your religion, where you are. It is quite dangerous for children to be having social media as young as this. And this also fuels their insecurity, and they might have body dysmorphia, because they will tend to see their photos side by side with another child's photos. Some moms think, oh, this is my digital album for my baby, and only my only my relatives will be here. But your relatives, you can't really um control if they're going to screenshot it, or they're going to share it in another platform. Sometimes when your baby is really cute, they're going to screenshot it and post it, like, look at my niece, isn't she a darling? And she will post it in a different place. You have no control over what happens to your children's photos once they're out there in social media. So this is also partially young parents problems, because as I told you at the beginning of my talk, this digital platform, this problems of screen time has been happening for over 10 to 15 years already. And the people 10 to 15 years ago are now young moms who are creating baby accounts for their children. So it is a cycle that is not yet broken. And it is becoming a really really big responsibility for us now to give people um more awareness with what it can do, what are the long-term effects. Um so let's talk more about ADHD, because this is really something that I see a lot on. And people would tell me actually it's quite common for a child now to have ADHD. Actually, let's not make it a normal thing for children to have disorders, because this is just an effect of how they're growing up. Children are supposed to be growing up, playing with random things in the house. I used to play with milk boxes. I used to ground leaves and be fascinated, like, oh, my hands are green now. Oh, the petals make pink water when I marinate them under the sun. These are things that children should be exploring, because these digital things, um AI is going to be able to do it in a few years. We have seen how it has progressed over the past few years, and they did say that some jobs will be replaced by AI very, very soon. And what we need to teach children now is what AI can't do, which is to create from their own emotions, from how they feel within. And how are they going to do that if they're exposed to a screen mostly every day? They won't be able to create, to make art, to write music. I know AI can do that, but is it really connecting with other people if it's done by someone who is not human? How are we to distinguish human emotions from something that is just generated from the computer? So these are something that this is something that we need to nurture within our children. Anyway, let's go back to ADHD and its links to prolonged screen time. So I did include this later. This is not a coincidence because screen time predicted this behavior. You know, children with more screen time actually has a smaller part of their brain. It's called the putamen. This region is involved in language learning and reward processing. So heavier screen time um, leads to a slightly thinner development of this, and that's why children need more instant gratification by receiving likes on Instagram, by viewing short form media on TikTok, yeah, these kinds of things, and it affects their attention, their working memory, and language processing. um, Children with heavy screen use also has a thinner thinking cap, or the cortex. This is the part of the brain that um, handles adult level stuff. So like problem solving, paying attention, there you go, making good decisions. Yeah, so there. When this area is affected, it can make kids more prone to addiction, and it will make it harder for them to learn not just new languages, but to learn overall. So after 2 years, the researchers actually saw thinning, and it can act like a computer, parts that handle working memory, language, focus, their brains are losing the hardware it needs to have to stay on task. So let's talk about the action plan for parents, so that we can limit, and not even limit, maybe our goal is to completely remove it, um, because we need to move from passive consumption to intentional engagement. Now, there are just 5 steps here. The first is to establish tech-free zones. So, for example, in the bedroom, we can't use phones at all. There can't be any Alexa or Siri devices in the bedroom. You want some music, you go to the living room. Um, you know, and you can also set some times, maybe no screen, 60 minutes before bed, to help protect their sleep quality and melatonin. For dinner time, you implement it as family time. Maybe you can have a device basket during meals, so that everyone, including the parents, and will put away their phones to prioritize face-to-face conversation. um, Maybe at when they come home from school, they need to submit all their phones, because why do they need their phones when you're there already? They don't need to text you. Yeah, it also promotes them having this emotional attachment to their friends, because they don't get to connect with them when they don't see them. When they see each other again, they have a lot to talk about. They have a lot of things to engage about in their conversation, aside from just sending each other TikToks through messaging apps. It gives them a more meaningful away time from each other. Aside from that, the second one is to practice co-viewing. So what does this mean? Because now we say there is parent control, right? For apps, for you to control, for adults to control what children consume. But I think instead of monitoring, maybe we can view the content with the children, so we can be the passenger with them. So instead of just looking at their history, their watch history, maybe we can sit with our child and laugh about the things that they find funny, and we can ask, so why do you think, I mean, what was funny about that? Or I really think that this is so interesting because, or how did that video make you feel? Make it a conversation starter, rather than um encouraging them to consume short form media. You make it as a point of conversation for you and your child. So you co-view um, the the media that they consume, and this promotes active engagement because you can use this tech together, not just for browsing. Maybe when you see something uh from the videos, maybe it can be a prompt for you to start a creative project. So maybe you see a wallpaper in someone's house, and maybe, oh, actually we can DIY that. And that can be, something that you can work on with your child. So it becomes a goal, rather than, it turns into a physical thing rather than just passive scrolling. So the third suggestion is the 3:1 balance framework. So I think this is for older children's, maybe for 1 hour of work, or 1 hour of recreational screen time. Maybe they need to do 3 hours of something else, like chores or reading or outdoor play. And the thing to make this work is they should have a routine. So at home, maybe you can have a schedule. I mean, it won't come naturally. If your children already have this automaticity of just sitting down and browsing through their phones, you can't expect them to just drop it all down and be free as, wild children. They won't be like that. If you're going to wean them off of using their phone all the time, maybe at the beginning you can have a simple routine. So maybe when they come home, you will tell them they need to do maybe 30 minutes of yoga, so that they can, do some stretching before they take a shower. And then after they take a shower, you expect them to take off some of their chores, like putting away the laundry, or fixing up the shoe cabinet, or like charging their devices, reading. Having this list gives children at home security of what can happen next. It's not that, oh, I don't have anything to do, or I don't know what to do, mom, or like, what's next. They will keep bugging you if they don't have a certain list of things that they need to do. So as a parent, it's your responsibility to tell them what to do, because you are the adult in the house. So maybe give them a routine that they can follow, with movement, something that includes reading, or maybe art appreciation. It doesn't have to be so rigorous. It can be as simple as browsing through a magazine. Look through a magazine and count how many use you can find. YOU. That's for 5-year-olds. Then they can highlight all the YOUs in a magazine, and that will take them such a long, long, long time. That will take them such a long time, and that's just one word. So, let's be creative with thinking of things that they can do without screens, including iPad, TV, watch, Siri, Alexa, and Nintendo, and PlayStation. Um, and number four, aside from giving them the ratio of 3:1 balance, maybe let's teach them digital hygiene. Something that I like to tell parents is the grandma rule. Don't post anything you wouldn't want grandma to see. So if you feel that this is embarrassing, this outfit is embarrassing, you don't want your aunt to see this because she will tease you, or you don't want grandma to see because grandma will tell you something about how short the skirt is, or how how adult the makeup looks like, or how your caption is not appropriate, maybe don't post it. So it's the grandma rule. This is teaching children digital hygiene. How do you compose yourself? What kind of digital footprint are you going to put out there? Because once you put it out there, it's never going away. Even if you delete it, it's in the cloud. It's already there. These companies, these apps, they have terms and conditions in fine print that children don't really read, and parents, they just give the go sign because everyone else is doing it, so why not, right? So this um doesn't teach children to have etiquette on how to post and what to post if they are posting. Um, so the way to teach them is to be with them while they're navigating through the first few steps. Aside from that, do have emotional check-ins. If your child is suddenly becoming irritable, um, or glazed over, you know how they're doing blank stares after watching a movie, or maybe after they've won a game and then they will just space out. Maybe you can use that as a teaching moment to discuss how, how tech actually affects their current mood, or how it affects how they feel overall. Let's teach children to how to read their own body, how to know if they are already fatigued or they're just in a rush to get after that instant gratification of winning when they're playing games, when they're receiving likes. Yeah, we teach them that kind of etiquette. And lastly, of course, we model the behavior by also putting our phone down. Children mirror the adults around them. If we are always using our phone, for example, when we're watching a game, or when it's dinner time, they will perceive that this is actually the standard. I mean, it's normal for you to do it, so why not me? And let's not be, bullies by saying, oh, because I'm the mom, because I'm the dad, because I said so. It doesn't make sense for them. They might not use it when you're around, but probably when they're around other adults and you're not there, they will be using their phone while they're eating. And this is also doesn't promote healthy eating habits, because they will be just chewing mindlessly and they're not enjoying the fruits of labors of the farmers. Things like these, they should be able to show gratitude to where things come from, and they won't be able to do that if they're too distracted doing something else over their phone. So maybe when you're using your phone at home, you can say out loud, oh, I'm just checking the weather for tomorrow, and then I'm putting my phone away, and these simple comments would show that technology is a tool with a specific purpose. We don't we don't browse through different videos endlessly and mindlessly. We use tech for a reason. We use our watches so that parents can find you. We use FaceTime when we can't immediately go there and your cousin is sick. These are tools, but they are not the replacement. Yeah, they're just alternatives, but they're not the replacement. So the goal is not to ban technology, like as a whole, but it's to teach our children that how to be technology's master, not its servant. It's really, really easy to feel overwhelmed by the data on how this affects children, but we really aren't powerless. You know, these 5 things, establishing tech-free zones, co-viewing, having a balance, digital hygiene, modeling, these things uh, can shift our role from policing children to becoming someone that they can look up to. Mom doesn't need her phone so much. Dad doesn't, use the phone while he's using the phone and watching a football game at the same time. When he's watching, he's watching. When he's using the phone, he's using the phone. Let's be models. So that is the action plan that we can uh, try to remember and try to suggest to parents who might want to seek our help. Um, before, oh, here you go. Because these are the things that children must be doing. They should be bored in the plane, looking out over by the window. Children now, they can't just simply gaze out the window and just look at the stuff outside. They have to be on the screen. No, I mean, when we were growing up, we were gazing outside, imagining all sorts of stuff. We were very whimsical. Now, children, they're just bored all the time. There's so much happening in the world. They can play dress up. You know, I haven't seen a child wearing makeshift, clothes, like parents' clothes. I used to wrap myself in neckties and, call it a day. This is me. This is my afternoon. They should be able to be bored. Boredom is the root of creativity. If you're not bored, you won't be able to think of something new because you're just being fed with information. You won't create because you're being fed all the time. So I think we should allow our children to be bored, to, paint, get messy. I know now the resources can be quite um expensive, and that's why parents might not want their children to get dirty because of certain things, maybe health issues. But these are the things that we grew up with, playing around, horsing around, climbing trees, picking up dirt on the floor, random things on the floor. Then your mom will like, don't pick up random things on the floor. Now moms will be like, keep your phone away. No one is picking up random things on the floor now. Children should be running around, laughing with their friends, making a lot of noise with their friends, not being in a circle with their friends with their Starbucks, Stanley cups full of matcha. Children shouldn't even be drinking matcha. And yeah, so all of these things. I just want to share to you this book. I don't know if you already have heard of it. Have you ever heard of this book? The Anxious Generation by Jonathan Hyde. Uh, this is a really, really good book. So maybe I'll just share you something about it before I um start accepting questions. Oh, I realized we only have 10 minutes. Okay, I'll be very, very fast because this is a really good book. This book is written by a social psychologist, Jonathan Haidt. And basically, he's telling us that we've accidentally conducted a massive experiment on kids, and the results are very, very scary because he said we've moved from a play based childhood to a phone based childhood, staring at screens. And it's causing a massive spike in anxiety and depression. Um, Actually, this is written 15 years ago. So long ago, but until now, we still haven't cut it for our children. We are still letting them uh dance around with hype music and all these things. Anyway, um somewhere around 2010, children stopped hanging out in prison and start hanging out in apps, and this greatly rewired how childhood is, and it messed with their sleep, focus, their ability to just be children, and we've become helicopter parents in the real world. We barely let kids walk in the park by themselves. But basically, when they're using their phones, we also have left them alone in the digital wild nest. They are they are susceptible to danger out there, and they don't have any protection. We're protecting them when they're safe outdoors, when there's literally no one there, and under protecting them when they're actually at risk, you know so this book is really, really good. So I think maybe you can check it out. I think there are some PDFs available of this book because it's such an old book, but I think it's a classic that everyone should read. um Okay, I think if anyone has questions, you may put it in the chat or maybe raise your hand. If not, I will be sending you links of some TED Talks that I really, really enjoyed, of people talking about screen time. Yeah, but if you don't have any questions, I'll probably just keep on talking about this book because it's really good. Oh, okay.
Thank
I
you
already see
very, very
questions.
much,
Yes.
Miss Taj. You did a superb job of sounding the alarm. Your presentation is certainly more or better than an academic session. It is a wake-up call. It is everybody that wonders of modern technology, we very mindful of the dangers of loneliness takes over all of us, particularly the children. It starts with the children. They are the foundations of the society of tomorrow. I thank you very much, Ms. Taj, for this phenomenal presentation. And we can't wait to have more of that in the process of rewiring our children, but in a way we don't lose them. We don't lose the generation of the future. So much we could think about with this presentation, so much you, Professor Taj, could say about this critical topic. But yes, let's give a chance to our participants to raise questions and issues about anything that they did not quite understand or else that they want to dive into in this field of child education, particularly today's topic, the input of modern technology in our children's behavior. Alexander Adini, the first question from you. We ready?
Thank you, Dr. Fasin. Thank you, Miss Taj. This was a very good presentation. Uh, we are facing a problem with our kids. I have twins who are 9, so they they are very creative when they are using. Each of them have tablets. They are very creative when they use their tablets.
Yes.
Maybe we let them a lot of time with the television too, but sometimes they have already a problem with a lack of attention when they are at school. So, what do you advise? What should we do to rewrite the attention at school? What should we do with the attention lag because of the tablet maybe or the television? Thank you. That's my question.
Thank you very much, Alexander. Ms. Taj?
Yes.
I feel like one thing to make them more engaged is to just give them a lot of options. Because when they're having the phone, right, or they're having the tablet, there's a lot of apps. There's a lot of things to choose from, whereby if they're used to having all those in one single place and this thing gets taken away, suddenly the options are gone. So we need to show them that actually, even when the tablet is not with you, even when the phone is not with you, there are many other options. So you don't just tell them that there are many options, you show them the different options. Like you can maybe make them a list, of like maybe 10 things that they can do. And in that 10 things, they need to spend maybe 15 minutes each. I think one of those will spark their interest if they're exposed to it in a certain amount of time. Because if you just encourage them by saying, okay, you just try a little bit, and they will only spend maybe a minute or two, it will not really engage them, or they won't be able to explore the material, maybe such a magazine or an encyclopedia, or maybe taking a walk outside, or maybe singing a tune, learning an instrument. If they're only exposed to it for a very short while, they won't be able to find that spark. So maybe when you introduce something, make it a list, and each item would have a certain time duration that they need to explore it with.
Thank you very much for your answer. Brothers and sisters, I want to remind you, Miss Taj has spoken a lot. She's been talking for nearly 1 hour. It is now your time to speak up and raise questions. Remember, the sessions is for you. And I'm certain that there are areas that are not clear and some other points you would like to understand better. So it is your time, please. If pretty much like Mr. just indicated earlier, It's either you speak up your questions or the chat box is now open. You can type these questions in there, and either she or I will take pleasure in reading the questions for the whole audience. In the meantime, let me also inform you, brothers and sisters, cherished participants, Ms. Taj has posted two very important links in the chat box. They are about videos she recommends that you watch at your leisure time. So go ahead now, please, before we close the session. Go ahead and either you copy the URLs of those videos, you can watch them later, or click right now your browser ready to go, ready for you to watch. The time is now. Please ask your questions, brothers and sisters. And as Emmanuel Owure, at least one participant was paying attention. Go ahead, Emmanuel, with your question, please.
Okay, so thank you very much for the presentation. So I just want to ask a question, regarding the security that she mentioned, that, in our time, we actually played a lot in the sand, even in the nearby bushes, But now with all the security problems that we have, so how can the children enjoy this wonderful experience?
Okay, how can our children enjoy this wonderful experience? Can you make that a little clearer, please? Both Ms. Taj and I are missing out on the key fundamentals of your question, please, Emmanuel.
Okay, so I'm saying that in our time, we used to play a lot in the bush, close by, and
Correct.
with
Yes.
sand and all that. But
Yes.
now, with the current situation in the world regarding security, so how can our children enjoy this same experience that we had?
Now this is getting very, very political because the lack of security lays in the hands of our politicians. Our governments, they're the ones in charge of security. I see exactly where you're coming from because I am of the age when I used to play outside and pretty much like you said, playing around the bush and go everywhere and interact with our peers and so forth and so on. But if security has become an issue, even in the United States, that's a solid country when it comes to security. Believe it or not, parents are not very comfortable about letting their children go anywhere because anything can happen. I don't know if you have a say on that, Miss Taj.
I feel like this is just an effect of people staying indoors and just using their phones all the time. In comparison to before, where we used to have a community where neighbors say hi to each other,
Yes.
you know who is living on the whole stretch of your block.
Yes.
So you're not really scared to walk around because you know that this person lives here, they have two children and a dog, or maybe your other neighbor, you don't like them because their cats keep wandering around. We used to know everyone so well because we were forced to go outside and know people. Now we don't have to go outside and know people. We can just look them up with their names. Their names
Yes.
will pop up in the home association page and you will just stalk them on Facebook. And this is something that is making us isolated from the rest of the families that live within our space. And I feel that that is also restricting us from feeling safe in our very own community because we don't know anyone personally. So that is why, as adults, we must also go out and extend our friendship, build communities with the families surrounding us so that the other families as well will feel safe with you. You will feel safe with them. There is a building of trust,
Yes.
real connection, and not just being friends on Facebook. not
I
just being connected over Instagram. So yeah, so I
fully,
think that's
fully
one thing.
agree with you, Mr. Edge. It's good times, ladies and gentlemen, but also dangerous times. So it's up to each and every one of you to do your part to make sure that we can communicate with each other. Let's tackle now the last question with Miss Alvin Guefu. Miss Alvin, it is the floor to you now.
Thanks very much, Dr. Valsin. Thank you, the presenter. This is indeed, I've enjoyed the session and I can relate with the topic of today. That's why I couldn't afford to miss it. I am more concerned about the point related to the action plan for parents. And I would like, if possible, for the presenter to throw more light on the 3-1 balance approach. I'm not sure I got it well.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
I see. The 3:1 balance is about having a framework of time. So for 1 hour of children using their screens, they have 3 hours of doing activities off screens. So maybe you can start small. For 10 minutes of using screen time, maybe they can take a pause and do something for 30 minutes. Oh, that's so hard. That's so hard for someone who is consistently using their iPad. But these things, it really takes time. So 3:1. So 3 hours of doing off-screen time to give them 1 hour of screen time. This can be a good way to wean them off, because of course right now they really enjoy using their screens, but you have to give them a time duration to explore off-screen activities, and the ratio that I recommend is 3:1.
Thank you very much. I love your question, Alvin, because I too was kind of missing out on the actual meaning of this 3-1 approach. Thank you very much again, Miss Taj. Wow, that was very, very impressive. And I feel that would have you another 4 or 5 hours because this issue is something that is concerning to everybody in modern times. We are definitely lonely. We are on our screens all the time. It's not just for our little children. The adults that we are also are glued our screens all the time. If it's not the television, it is a projector, it is our phone, it's our tablet. We are in the vehicle. Sometimes I'm driving and then at every intersection at the stop sign, I'm just grabbing my tablet and look up something real quick. It has become a terrible addiction. I wish, Mr. Taj, that you'll be back very soon and throw some more light into this topic of very, very big appeal and interest. Thank you to each and every one of you present for this class by Miss Leidula Taha Jimenez, Miss Taj. And I'm sure she will now throw a conclusion to this very, very beautiful presentation. Ms. Taj, a conclusion, please.
All right. Thank you so much for all of your questions. That's just gives me relief that you were actually listening to the talk. Yeah, so this has been a long journey for us, and it still hasn't come to an end. We are
Yes.
just at the beginning of nipping it in the bud, because children are still very quite addicted to their screens. And I saw this quote while I was researching for this topic. I'd like to share it with you. Time spent on screens is time not spent elsewhere. So maybe you can think about that, not just for the children, but for yourself as well. When you're using your phone at night, maybe you can check your screen time in your settings app, you'll be very surprised how big it is. Maybe you'll just say, oh, I'll use it for a few minutes before work. Oh, I'll use it while I'm on the train going to work. Oh, I'll use it on my bathroom breaks. I'll use it on lunch break. And you'll see how much that actually adds up. And this may be the same for children. The time that they spend on their screens is time spent not doing more meaningful activities. So I hope this quote made an impact on you as much as it did with me. And yeah, I hope you also start having conversations with other educators and maybe get their opinion on this, because this is something that I think everyone is struggling with as of the moment. Yeah, so thank you for coming to the talk this evening or afternoon, wherever you may be, and Happy New Year!